Welcome to another edition of Tasker 101 tutorials. This is lesson number 12. We're going to be talking about having Tasker switch to the best Wi-Fi connection. Basically, someone commented on one of my previous lessons and said, hey, I have two routers in my home for two different areas of my home, but the problem is when the signal gets weak from the one router, my phone still stays connected to it. I would like to create a Tasker task so that when the signal gets weak, it automatically switches over to the stronger connection. Because when one signal is weak, it means you're closer to the other router, and so that signal is stronger. And I think that's a common thing. I have two routers in my home, so I understand the need for that. Also, could be if at work. If you have two routers at work, it might come in handy there. So that's what we're going to do today. Even if this is not something that maybe you don't have that situation, and this isn't a task or profile that you would benefit from having yourself, I would recommend you still watch this lesson and even go through the steps and set it up yourself. You can delete it afterwards, but we're going to be using a lot of different aspects of Tasker in this lesson to accomplish this, because it's not an easy thing to do. It took me a lot of trial and error and trying different things and time to figure it out. But it's good for you, because even if you're not going to use this particular profile, you're going to see a lot of different aspects and different things that will help you out for other tasks you might want to create. So let's get started. We're going to create the task first. Just to preface this, there is no trigger built into Tasker. There's not a trigger based on the strength of your Wi-Fi signal. So we're not going to use Wi-Fi signal strength as our trigger. You can use a lot of different things, and we'll get to that in a minute. Right now we're going to create the task that once it is triggered, the task tests the Wi-Fi signal and then makes a decision, an action or not, based on what the current signal strength is. So we're in task, and we're going to click the plus button for a new task. We're going to say 101 Wi-Fi switch. Alright, so the first thing that we are going to do is we're going to write a file, which is something we haven't done in a previous lesson. So the action category is file, and then the action is write file. So basically what you're doing in this is you're taking information or text and writing it to a file in your phone memory. So we're going to write the file. We're going to say Tasker, and when you're using this is sort of a good place to do it. That way you know the file will be in your Tasker folder. And we're going to say SSID .txt. So we're writing a text file, and the text that we're going to write, we're actually going to write information from a variable. So if we click the little tags button, that brings up our variables, and we're going to go down to the built-in variables, and we're going to go down to Wi-Fi info. Wi-Fi info, Wi-Fi status, if you want to know, just means whether Wi-Fi is on or off. Wi-Fi info pulls the information from whatever Wi-Fi router it is currently connected to. So it'll contain the name of the Wi-Fi signal, the MAC address, signal strength, that type of information. So we're going to select that, Wi-Fi info. You could also just type it in. It's capital WIFII. Stands for Wi-Fi info. So that's that. We're going to leave append unchecked. If you check append when you're writing a file, that means you want to add this information to the end of the text that already exists in the file. So it would just add additional information. We don't want to do that. We want to write over whatever was there previously each time we run this. So leave append unchecked. Add new line. Leave that checked. Just make sure that everything stays as it is on a new line and it's not written in one solid line. And that's it for this particular action. We're pulling the Wi-Fi information, so all the information from the current Wi-Fi signal, and writing it to a text file. That's action 1. Now we're going to go to action 2. This is going to be a file as well, a file action, so click File. And the file action we're going to select this time is read line. So click Read Line. And first we're going to select the file we're going to read from. We're going to read from the file that we had just written. So just type that out, tasker / and then ssid dot txt. So we're reading from that file, and we're just going to read one line. The line we're going to read is line 5. Now line 5 is the line inside of the Wi-Fi info information. Line 5 is the line that has the current signal, the current signal strength. I probably should have built a different task just so I could show you that how that information is laid out. And maybe I'll do that after I get through with this, and I'll just insert it in right now. Okay, so we're breaking into the lesson to show you how to view what the Wi-Fi info variable contains. And this is a good thing to know. Anytime you want to find out what's in a variable, you just create an action to flash that information. So, and then when we click play, this is the Wi-Fi info information. It contains connection, then a space, then the name, then a space, then the MAC address, and the IP address, and the signal strength, then the speed. So that's the information that you're pulling and then writing to the written file, as well as the information you're going to use later on to test which connection you're connected to. Just so you can see how that information is laid out. But I'm just telling you right now that line 5 is the line that contains the Wi-Fi signal strength. Unfortunately, it's not just a number. It has I think it's SIG colon and then the number that represents the strength. So we're going to have to pull the number out, and you'll see that in a second. So we are going to write this to a variable. We will name this variable signum. And remember, when you use all lowercase, that means it's a local variable. So the variable is only going to be available for this particular task, and it's only going to hold the information until this task is over. Once the task is over, the information will not be held. But for this particular variable, that's what we need. So, and it's better to use that if that's all you need. So we're going to leave it all lowercase, signum, and that's it for that one. Now we have to do something with that variable. We've pulled the Wi-Fi information. We've then pulled line 5, which is a couple letters, a colon, and then the number that represents the signal strength. And we've pulled that and written that to a variable. But now we need to pull out just the number, because that's all we need is that number. So we're going to add an action to do that. So click the plus sign, click variables, and then we're going to click variable split. And the variable we're going to split is that one that we just created, signum. Again, because right now it has 3 letters, a colon, a space, and then a number, which stands for the signal strength. We just need the number because that's what we have to measure against. So we're going to split it. And if you when you want to split variables, if you enter a character here, then that becomes the splitter. So you could enter, for example, if you entered a dot, or period, I guess would be the right way, then if a variable had 3 sentences, each ending with a period, if you entered period, then it would be split after each period. We're not going to do that. We're going to just leave this blank. When you leave it blank, it splits anytime there's a space. So anytime characters stop and there's a space, it just splits automatically between anytime it gets to a space, it splits off. And since the signal right now is 3 letters, a colon, a space, and then a number, if we leave that blank, it's going to split, and the number will be the second split. Hopefully this isn't confusing you too much, but if it is, it's okay. It was, when I started working with variables and splitting variables, it was confusing to me at first too. But the more you work with it, it starts to become clear. So now now that we've split that, we need to take the number and assign it to a variable. So we're going to click plus. We're going to click variables. We're going to click variable set. And we're going to call this sig strength. And we're going to set it to signum. Actually, let's put the percentage sign there first, because that's how we know it's a variable. Signum2. So what we're doing is we're creating a new variable called sig strength, and this has a capital letter in it, which means it's a global variable. And we're taking the second split figure from our previous variable signum. Remember, there were 2 things in there. There's a text colon space and then a number. The letters and the colon are going to be signum 1, and then the number is going to be signum 2. So we're going to take that number and assign it to sig strength. You want to make sure that this name, whatever you use, has a capital letter in it. This is one of the things that stumped me when I was creating this. If you use a local variable only, then Tasker will not see the number as a number. It'll only see it as a character. But by using at least one capital letter, making this a global variable, Tasker will see it as a number. And since it's a number, it can measure things against it, which is important. So we're going to go sig strength to signum2. And then we're going to go back. So basically, we've taken the information from our Wi-Fi that we're currently connected to, written it to a file. From that file, we've pulled line 5, which has 3 characters, a colon, a space, and then the a number representing the strength. Then we've split that line into 2 separate variables by doing a variable split, which takes whatever the variable is and assigns it to that variable with a number. So signum becomes signum 1 and signum 2. Signum 2 is the one that has the actual number. So we take that signum 2 and assign that variable to sig strength, which contains a capital letter, making it a global variable and meaning that it will be recognized as a value, as a number value, not just a character. So that's like the hard part. That's the complicated part. The rest is fairly simple, because now we just need to take that number and measure it against what we want it to be, and then do something based on that. So first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna add a stop action. So that's under task. So select task and select stop, and we're gonna click the if button. And we're going to say the variable we just created, and so let's click the tag button, and there it is right there, sig strength. We're going to select that, and we're going to say is greater than, and we'll give it the number 3. So basically we're saying stop if the signal strength, the sig strength variable, which is the signal strength value that we've assigned to that variable, if that number is greater than 3, then stop. Okay, so we've created so far tasks that basically test our Wi-Fi signal strength. It finds out what it is, and then it compares it to say, is it greater than 3? Now 3 is an arbitrary number. You might have to play with that number to figure out what works for you and when you want it to switch over. 3 just seemed like a decent number to me. It's just a sort of, I just pulled it sort of out of thin air. But you might want to say, and it's greater than. So that means if it's equal to or less than, so if the signal strength is 3 or less, it's gonna continue on. But you might have to play with that. So the next part of the task is going to be then telling it what to connect to if the strength is 3 or less. In order to do that, there's a plug-in, a Tasker plug-in you need. So let's go to the home screen and go over to Google Play Store. I already have this installed on my phone, but I want to show it to you so you can see it. Of course it's going to have issues with the signal, and I can't get used to this whole new Play Store thing. Dear old Google. Sometimes I think they need to realize that changing stuff for the sake of changing stuff isn't always a good idea. Sometimes they update stuff and it's not any better, it's just different. And it's like, good Lord, you can't ever get used to using something, because next thing you know, they've changed it. There it is. I was like, I know it should be right here. I just added it. So Wi-Fi Connect for Tasker. So that's what you want to install. This is a plug-in. There are a lot of third-party plug-ins that add additional functionality to Tasker for things that aren't already built into it. And this is one of them. So Wi-Fi Connect for Tasker. So go ahead and install that. And then once that is installed, then we can continue with our task. So now that we have that installed, we can continue on with telling the task what to do if the signal strength is equal to or less than our designated number. So first thing we're going to do, I'm going to go plus, I'm going to go plug in, and there you see Wi-Fi Connect. Wi-Fi Connect. And now to configure the Wi-Fi Connect plugin, you click the Edit button. So I'm going to click Edit button, and I'm going to select the signal that I want to connect to. So I'm going to select Rye Schnabel. That's one of my routers. Select. And that's going to be it for that. And then I want to add plug-in Wi-Fi Connect, edit, and select the 7WQ82. It's another one of my Wi-Fi connections. So those are the two Wi-Fi connections that we want to toggle between. So we've got those selected. Now we just need to find out which one we're currently connected to, so we know which one we want to switch to. So I'm going to click the plus button, and we're going to create a go-to task. I'm going to say task go-to. I'm just going to leave it 1 for right now, because until we're finished the numbers might not match up. So we'll leave it action number 1. We're going to make this an if action, so we're going to select if, and then for this variable we're going to just insert the Wi-Fi info variable, Wi-Fi info, which again you could just type, and it's WIFII, all caps, and we're going to say if it matches, and we're going to put an asterisk, and then there we go, Rye Schnabel, and then an asterisk. Okay, now let me explain this. When you put an asterisk before and after a set of characters, a word, what you're basically saying is if the information contains this anywhere inside of it. So we already discussed that Wi-Fi info contains all the information on your Wi-Fi connection. The name, the MAC address, the signal strength, etc., etc. So we're gonna use the name to determine what we are connected to. So I put asterisks on either side, so Tasker will run through all the characters, all the information that is in the Wi-Fi info, and see if this particular string of characters, Reichenabel, together just like this, is anywhere in there. So if it is, if it's anywhere in there, then that's considered a match. And so that's what the asterisks on either side do. When you put those on both sides, you're telling it if it contains this specific string of characters exactly like this, anywhere inside of it, then that's a match. So we're going to move that up to right here, up to action number 6. And then we're going to add one more action. And we're going to go to task. This is going to be a stop action. Stop. And we don't need to do anything special. And we're going to move that up to action number 8. And now we can go back in and change the go to number 9. So basically we're saying this first part is just testing the signal strength, and if the signal strength is greater than 3, then don't do anything. But if it's less than 3, it's going to go to number 6, and what number 6 says is if we're currently connected to Reichenabel, skip down to number 9, which tells your phone to connect to the other one. However, if this doesn't match, so if you're not currently connected to Reichenabel, then just go to the next number, which is connect to Reichenabel, and then stop. So basically that's the task. We've created a task. Once this task runs, it's going to test our signal strength, and then if it's less than whatever we set as the bar, then it's going to go down here and either connect to it's going to connect to whichever one it's not connected to, based on this test. Of course, and the go-to with the if, you want to use the name of one of your connections, and obviously you set these up based on the name of your connections. So that's our task. Now we need a profile. We need a way to trigger that task, right? Again, there's not a built-in thing in Tasker to trigger something based on your Wi-Fi strength. It'd be great if there was, but there's not. So one of the ways you can do this, probably the most logical and simplistic one, would be just a time test. So we're going to see 101 test Wi-Fi, and we're going to make this a time. So we're going to select time. We're going to unselect the from and to, and we're going to select 5 minutes. And then it's going to ask you to what task you want to trigger, and we'll say the one we just created, Wi-Fi switch. So basically, while this is on, every 5 minutes it's going to run this task and test your Wi-Fi and then switch it if it's less than whatever you set as the bar. Now this is something you're not going to want on all the time. You're only going to want this on when you're at home. So what I would probably do is either create a task that turns this on and off, toggles this profile on and off, and then put that on my home screen, and we covered how to do that in one of the earlier lessons. Or you could you could just, when you get home, come into Tasker and turn it on. if you wanted to, or you could create a location action. We haven't done locations with Tasker. I'll probably do that in a lesson coming up. There's another app entirely called Llama, which is kind of a mini Tasker in a way, that is really excellent at location triggers. So I would probably, and it also works with will trigger Tasker task. So I would probably use Llama to do the location part and have it trigger a task that turns this on whenever I got home and turns it off when I'm leaving home. That would be the best, definitely be the best way to do it, because you only want this to be firing. You only want this to be testing your signal when you're at home or at work, whatever place you want it to switch. Otherwise, say you have this set up for home, but you're at work and you have this on, every 5 minutes it's going to be testing your Wi-Fi signal, and if your Wi-Fi signal is weak, then it's going to disconnect and try to connect to a Wi-Fi at home that you're nowhere near, and you obviously don't want that happening. So I just spit on the screen. So anyway, I would recommend just putting a button on your home screen and turning this on whenever you're home and turning it off when you leave home. Or you could do a location. There's other ways you could do it. You can get creative with that, and if you have any creative solutions you've come up with, feel free to share them in the comments below. I love to hear what other people come up with, because different people have different ideas and different perspectives. But that's it for this lesson. We made it through. Again, even if this isn't a profile you're going to use, if you went through this lesson, you probably learned some things you didn't know before, because we did cover things that we haven't touched on before. And yeah, that's about it. If you like this lesson, please click the like button, share it with anyone you know who might be interested in Tasker or Wi-Fi switching and that sort of thing. You can do that on Facebook, Reddit, Google+, all that fun stuff. And that's about it until next time. So have fun with Tasker.